Zoom? I hear you.
Something.
Zoom? I hear you.
Something.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name's Alex. Hopefully, people can hear me. I was invited to show some of my stuff regarding the TRS-80 Model 1. I know this is a Coco channel, but the host, Mark, was still pretty interested that I show, just some things about the TRS-80 Model 1. A little bit of background about me. I basically got into computers as a teenager. And as I'm sure a lot of people got my first TRS-80 Model 1 sometime, I think 15 or 16 years old. And I really liked it. I really got into it and I upgraded the computer and, I got the 4K level 1 initially and then upgraded to 16K level 2. And then I added an expansion interface and then more memory and floppy drives and all that. And I was fortunate in some ways because I like to write programs and games, and there was a company called Load Magazine located in Santa Barbara, which was where I used to live. And because they were there, I actually went and visited them and sort of formed a relationship. And I wrote a few programs and I sold them to them. And that's how I made money actually to, um, sorry, I'm trying to get my
Buy
uh,
more stuff.
yeah, buy more stuff. Kept me off the street is what I like to say. You know how that goes. Here we go. Here's the Load magazine. Someone created this archive of all the Load magazine um, uh,
Wow.
pamphlets. Yeah, I was amazed. I thought these were long gone. Um, and these were really good. I really liked the author who wrote these. I think his name was Dave. Um, and
Are the yellowed one yours?
No, they just were different colors. I don't know if they used a
Oh,
different scanner or what, but yeah. So my main thing for showing on this video, and we'll see how the time goes, is there was a little game I wrote called Stars, which is an assembly language, Z80 assembly language, was kind of like my first major program that I sold to Load magazine, and they actually published it in their January 1980 issue. And I know this is small. Let me zoom in a little bit, but
I'll bet you were thrilled.
yeah, I don't remember the exact price, but they paid like a few $100s, which if you're 16 years old, that was good money back in 1980. So yeah, they have the stars here, level 1, level 2. This was it. And he says a little bit about it here. Again, I don't know how visible this is in the Zoom, but that's kind of, it's a space game. The object is you've got these two ships and you navigate them up and down. It's like a two-player game. I've demoed this at the Vintage Computer Festival West in August of last year, 2025. And a lot of people said, "Oh, this just looks like a Frogger," and I'm like, "Really? Okay." I never really played Frogger, but I liked it, and I I I became on a quest to find the source code to this program and recover it, and maybe enhance the program to do different features and things like that. First thing I wanted to mention though is I created a YouTube channel a little bit. It's called Alex's Repair Bench. It's small. I do a lot of electronics and things like that. However, before and after the Vintage Computer Festival, I kind of got into the TRS-80 thing again, and I created quite a few videos related to the TRS-80. So if we go and look at that, just look at the playlist here, you can see all the different types of videos I made. I ran into problems actually at the festival, and my TRS-80 actually went kaput. This is the original one, by the way. I wrote all these programs on this computer way back when.
So you kept the computer all these years?
Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit of a pack rat, I hate to say,
That's good. No, it's
but
that's great.
yeah, it's kind of like this is the one that I wrote it on way
Yeah.
back, when I
So
lived in.
a lot of Coco guys have to wind up, they get rid of their stuff, and then when they get back into it, they're like, anybody got anything for sale?
Yeah, I was almost at the point of just like, nobody cares, who wants this stuff. There's
Mhm.
nobody interested in it anymore. And then what happened was, it's an interesting story, at least to me. In 2024, there was the Vintage Computer Festival in Mountain View, and I went there as an attendee. And I met a guy, Marcel, who was the only guy in the whole place who had a TRS-80 Radio Shack Model 1 computer. And he is just like Mr. Hardware. He builds replicas of these things. I don't know how the guy, I'm a software guy, but he's kind of like genius hardware. That's what I call him. And I left and I didn't think about it. And then I thought a few days later, it's like, I wish I could contact the guy because he had a demo software program running on the thing that was just very, very basic. And it's like, I wrote all this software. It'd be kind of fun to exhibit it someplace. So I got a
Mhm.
hold of him, and he was more than willing to share his table the next year. And then so 2025, I asked him, and he said, sure, yeah. He gave me a little space on the table, and I have a little video. I got interviewed by a live streamer. One of my videos on here, I edited just the three or so minutes of him interviewing me, where I demonstrate the computer and this and that. And there's also a video of him if you're interested as well. Um, but
Is it something you can play now, or
yeah, I'm going to show the game in a second
okay?
here. I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of a backstory, but I was amazed how many people showed up and were interested in these retro computers. I had young people come and ask me and talk to me about it, and I was always emphasizing, we had 16K, actually we had 4K of RAM. That's 4K, 4,000. Nowadays people are like gigabytes, and terabytes even. It's like, okay, this was a whole different world back then. Um, but yeah, the game, to get into that, I'll show that so we don't go too far here. Um, actually, I'm going to show everything here on an emulator just because it's kind of a whole lot easier than having the actual Radio Shack computer. And this thing is resizable, which I love. The best emulator I've seen is this TRS-80 GP for the Model 1. It'll also emulate the Model 2, Model 3, and Model 4, but I basically just had the Model 1. Um, Whoops, you've got to enter everything right or it's very unforgiving. So this is emulating Model 1 with TRS-DOS, the original. And on here, I've got my STARS programs and things like that. And the way you originally, well, I'll just demonstrate the program first. But the easiest way to run this is simply to um, drag and drop over. You can copy the file onto like a local uh, virtual drive on here, but it really is easier just to, um, sorry, I should have this. There we go, ZMAC. I do everything here just to have it here, and you just drag it on, and then literally it's running. So if I say skill level 1, the speed will just do 1, and variable star size, there's like a yes or no. I'll say no. And I added, this is new, I added this left, right, both, or none computer playing, but I'll do none for now, which is how the game originally was written. And you hit enter, and basically you control these little ships. And if you hit one of these stars, it bounces your ship back to the bottom. So the goal is to play with the player and move your ship all the way to the top without hitting these, I call them stars, and you have stars moving left, stars moving right. And it's a two-player game. I can just hold down one of the buttons and you can see if it hits something, it pops back down. And the goal is to hit as many laps as possible in the time allotted, which is 72 seconds or so. It's roughly seconds, it's not exact. So a couple things with this game when I resurrected it, which that's another story, but I actually was going to do a little bit of a show and tell. What happened was I found Here we go. Hopefully this is going to show up here. I found the actual cassette.
Yeah,
Yeah, that I had the source code on. Yeah, there we go.
that's great.
Yeah, but there was a problem with it. It wouldn't load the famous TRS-80 audio problem. And I created a whole video on this, but I'm just going to go ahead and show you what the issue is. Actually, I think I had a screenshot. Might be faster just to do that.
Were you able to recover?
Yeah, yeah, it was sorry for a little confusion here. I had the this is my first live stream, by the way, everybody.
You're
So
doing well.
I'm doing well. Okay, great. I'm not a shy person particularly, but it is, when the microphone gets in front of you, it's always an interesting experience.
Just be yourself. That's all we do.
Thank you. Yeah. So Audacity, let's see if it remembered where the recent file was.
Little story for you, Alex.
Here we go.
When we started doing Coco Talk and then the Coco Nation, a lot of us had not met in real life, and so one of the guys from Canada said he was kind of concerned because he wasn't sure that people would be like that in normal life, compared to being anonymous on the internet. And I said, no, I don't think that's the case. I think what you see is what you get. And it was. I mean, we're the same whether we're sitting here talking or whether we've met in person.
Yeah.
Ron Delbo, he's from Arizona. I'm from Oregon. I've met him in person probably 6 times now.
Yeah.
5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once a year in Chicago.
Yep.
But
Oh, nice.
it's the same whether we're here on this or whether we meet in person.
In person, yeah. Cool. Well, hopefully you can see this, but this is the audio that I dubbed basically from the cassette directly into my laptop. And this part here is kind of deadly to loading programs. I don't know if we'll be able to hear it, but I'll just play a little snippet.
No, you can't.
Yeah, you couldn't tell here, but in the video that I created on YouTube, you can really hear the dip, and that part is pretty deadly. The TRS-80 Model 1 does not cope with audio dropouts, so I was a little bummed. There was always the reverse engineering where I could take the assembled code, which is out there. You can actually find the original on like a CPM archives and various other places. And disassemble it and whatever, but that was kind of like going to be a lot of work because assembly is, how that is. So I found a program called a TRS-80 tool, and using the TRS-80 tool, this is the TRS-80 tooled version. It basically, if it can detect the audio, because what happens is it wasn't completely dropped out. It was just very, very much lowered volume. And that tool just finds the crossings of the zero line of the audio and it balances it out. So everything basically looks 100%. This is like the recovered code and it's got all the bits fully there. And then at that point, I was able to load it in and using other various tools, get it off of the emulator back into my computer and recompile it and add features and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
So, yeah, I was I was ecstatic, to be honest, because I thought, oh man, I have so many. I mean, this cassette that I showed you here, this is like what, 45 years old. If I made this program in 1980, January.
Well, plus back in the day, you probably used the heck out of it, right?
Yeah, you can
Running it back
actually
and forth.
you can actually see this is actually a C-Load magazine cassette that I repurposed because I was a poor teenager and I couldn't just buy like this is like the regular cassettes, and they had like in the original they had like a level 1 side.
Del cheapos.
Yeah, they're really cheap things. And I met the guys, like I said, I didn't work there, but I talked to the guys and they're recording them at twice the speed. Because they're producing like at 1.3 thousand a month. So it got, and there wasn't a company that you could particularly outsource things like that. And here's some newer ones where they actually started using a green cover and everything was level 2 at that point because pretty much everybody had upgraded. This was 1982 is the date on here. Everybody had upgraded to the newer version, but So that's this program. Now, a couple things I wanted to show real quick is if you look, we'll go faster and we'll do the yes this time. If you look, I don't know if this comes across on Zoom very much, but there's like a lot of screen flashing. The more white there is, the more you see these kind of
Flickering.
blips. Yeah, flickering. My friend that I knew in high school, he used to call them frisbees because they kind of look like frisbees going across the
Yeah.
screen. I thought that was funny. But it has to do with how the TRS-80 Model 1 hardware is written. Basically, you have a certain memory written, certain part of basically there's 64K of memory addressable in the Z80, and you can have up to 48K RAM, there's 12K of ROM, and then 1K is the screen memory, which is 64 across by 16 lines down. And whenever the CPU is reading or writing it, the chip that's generating the characters for the screen can't access it, so it basically becomes black. So black you don't see. If there's not much white on the screen, you don't see much flickering, but the more white there is, the more you're going to see the flickering. I believe in the Model 3, they've kind of improved that and fixed that a bit, so it doesn't
Is that
flicker.
called screen interrupt?
Yeah, it's kind of
Is that
like,
what it is?
yeah, it's basically kind of a screen interrupt. And I had a thought, and I create a little diagram here. I had a thought on improving that in this version, because what happens is the code that writes this is it was an easy way for a teenager to make it work. But basically, I don't know if you can see yeah, I can't really see my mouse, but like the stars appear on one side, some of them appear on the right, and then they move to the left, and some appear on the left and move to the right. And what happens is this is just contiguous 64 characters. And the way I did is I read the byte and then I copy it over. So I'm moving everything over. So there's like a tremendous number of accessing the screen memory for every time the stars move. I didn't write it in such a way that like I'm tracking all of the stars in like a list and then updating just their positions. It's literally just moving this crosshair of memory across, which is a lot of screen accesses. And that's why there's a ton of flickering. So I had this thought, which is not anything new or rocket science or whatever, but I added to the program basically all of the screen memory writes occurs in kind of a buffer. The original screen here is in, I know this is small, but it's in 3C00H to 3FFFH. That's 1K of RAM. And then what normally happens is the program just addresses directly the screen memory. That's basically what it would do, and that's why you get all the flickering. So what I did is I decided, well, it's easy enough to do. Instead of writing directly to the screen memory, I'll write to a memory buffer somewhere in memory. I just picked 8400 hex. So all the screen updates would be done here. And instead, there's a little loop in the original that kind of just wastes time, because otherwise everything just goes way too fast. You'll never be able to keep up. So I pretty much got rid of that, and then I created a temporary memory buffer as well. And so what I did is I would zero all of these out, and then I would write the initial screen here, and then I would compare it to this buffered. And if like A was different than A here, I would then update that memory location on the screen. And then I would just go through all of the memory. So the very first time it runs, it's going to update everything here. But then, like, let's say the next time only one star changed in this memory cell. I call it D. So it's going to compare D to D here, or D to whatever is here. And let's say this wasn't D. It's going to say, oh, this is different. So it says, oh, okay, these are different. I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy it here, and I'm going to copy it here. That way, only things that move or change on the screen get updated, and that reduced the flickering tremendously. And I'm going to just go ahead and demonstrate that because I have that version as well.
Also reduces your processing instead of redrawing the whole screen.
Exactly. You're not copying every byte over each
just
time. You're literally
ones.
just like, oh, the star moved from here to here, so we'll make this one blank, and now we'll make this one light up. Done. Right. So
right. Your modern video stuff does the same things. They have keyframes that have all the data, and then they have delta frames that are just the changes.
Exactly. It's nothing new, nothing rocket science, but here's this new version now. So we'll go ahead and do a 2. We'll go the faster speed, variable star side, and we'll go ahead and do none still. And I also added instructions so people would know how to use it. It's interesting, when I wrote this originally, there's like 3 pages of screens of instructions, which was actually almost longer than the program, because I did a bitmap of the whole screen, 1K, 1K, 1K.
Yeah.
And that's just was like the easiest way. So anyway, this is the new version, and you can see there's very little flickering with this. So
Yeah.
yeah, but now to demonstrate the real thing that I really wanted to show, which is the, and there's, just restart it. I really love you can drag it, which is the demo mode. I'm going to just go ahead and do a 1, 2, and we'll say no, and we'll just do both. So, and there's different computer versions for the autoplay. There's a 1 and a 2. The 1 only goes up. The 1 and the 2 will go up and down. So at this point now, it's kind of like hands-free, and both ships will run automatically and try to avoid stars as much as possible. So
It's like a completely different program.
yeah, I got a real kick out of this, because I was kind of like, yeah, it's, you really have to use your fingers and be really good and this and that, and it's not foolproof. It's not 100%, get out of any situation, but it wasn't that hard to do. I was kind of amazed that I, never updated it, or whatever. But I was doing other things. I was a teenager, and you get busy and write other games and such. But it's fun. And it's interesting too, because the stars are sort of semi-random. If you restart the game and you pick the same size stars and you pick the same number of stars, you'll get the same pattern each time. And it's interesting because you'll get exactly the same number of laps here, 2020, if you do it on this level 2, where it goes up and down. But if you only do the up, it's surprisingly, you get very similar numbers. I can show that real quick. If I say play again, if I say yes, it's going to prompt me for the same values. I'm going to say 1, 2, a no for the star size, and both. And this time I'm only going to do a level 1. And this way the ship only goes up. It never goes down. And if it gets hit, well, too bad. There you go. You saw that there. And what will happen is you'll see at the end that one of them actually gets higher. You saw the last time there was 20 and 20. But this one, if I remember right, A will get 21 and B will get 19. So it's surprisingly how good it is just going the single direction. It's fascinating. I can speed this up tremendously if I enable the turbo boost on the TRS-80 GP. You can see now it's really kind of crazy fast.
Yeah.
But then we'll see the final numbers there. That's kind of what I was looking for. Yeah, 21 and 19. Oh, 21 and 20. Okay. So that's that. And I have, what happens is I wanted to go to the next Vintage Computer Festival in August or whenever that comes up, and I wanted this program to kind of be able to be demoable. So I created a demo mode where it'll just go and count down and run again and just keep running over and over. That, because I think people found this more interesting than what I originally demoed in the festival was a lot of C-Load magazine covers. Every month they'd have like a cover that did some different graphics or artists. They're all written in BASIC, so they tended to be a bit on the rather slow side.
So let me ask you, with
Sure.
the color computer, I think random the command isn't actually too random. Evidently, it repeats itself somehow, and you have to actually do a little bit more to make it more random. Did you have to do that too, or?
Well, I took a very easy way out. What I did was I basically started reading the ROM from address 0, and then based on some kind of an algorithm, which I don't remember, I didn't look at that in the source code. Like if certain bits are set and I want, a certain number of stars, then I'll create a star. And as you run it, like if I repeat this game over and over and over, it's not the same set per run. But if you start it from scratch, it's going to be the same sort of stars. So it's reading the ROM, and then I guess when it gets to the end of the ROM, it cycles over again. But I can show you kind of like the worst case scenario here. We can say level 3, the fastest speed, variable star size, yes. And we'll just do demo mode and 2, and then hit enter. And this is kind of like the very difficult method to get any sort of laps. I think the computer at its best gets like, I think 8 laps or something like that, because it's a very populated screen. I did add this shield thing as well, but I didn't get a chance to add it for the computer, where basically you have the ability to have a shield so that if a star were to run into you, it becomes invisible. Like there, I'm holding it down on this left, but you have a very limited time. So, but because it uses so much power, is the theory, it doesn't let you move at the same time. Otherwise, you could sort of just blast through the stars. So, but that's for human players. So in theory, if you're really, really, really good, you could probably beat the computer using the shield because it doesn't. But I don't think that's very likely because it just detects the stars so much faster than at least my reflexes do. But
Hey, Alex.
yeah.
Yeah, it appears you have some fans in the color computer community. 8-Bits in the Basement, who lives in France, has checked out your channel, and he was impressed with some of your assembly language, I guess, tutorials you gave.
Oh, thank you.
And I have a question from Brian Weisler, who's a great cocoa collector from Iowa. He said, "Do you know who Robert Kilgus is?"
Do I know who Robert Kilness is?
Kilgus. He did a lot of games for the Model 1 and I guess the Model 3 before he moved over to the color computer.
Doesn't ring a bell, but again, it was many years ago.
Right. Let's see. Brian says he did the first 4 games for the Coco for the Radio Shack Model 1. Sorry, for the Radio Shack. I have Robert Model 1 programming.
What games does he have?
I don't remember offhand. If Brian, if you're still watching, kick the name of the games out for the Model 1.
Do you know that Coco came out at 4K, just like
the Model 1 did.
Yeah.
I mentioned I'm a little bit of a keep everything guy. I have a briefcase that I found in my storage place. And since you're mentioning these games, if it's for the Model 1, I did buy almost all of the Radio Shack games that they sold. And I found these little pamphlets on all the different software available. So here we've got the Blackjack. And of course, it's microscopic type in there, but I have Blackjack. I have the Quick Watson one, Backgammon, and
did he do like wildcatting or something, or was it a cartridge?
I don't remember who did wildcatting.
Yeah, it's the other thing I'm going to mention, getting past stars here. Just going to go ahead and restart that. Is how I do assembly now. Someone pointed me to something called ZMAC, and if I go into ZMAC folder, basically now all of my source code here is it's in an ASCII file, but basically assembly language here. So I can compile everything here using ZMAC and then quickly iterate through and test it on the emulator much, much faster than I ever was able to do it on the TRS-80. because with there you had to load the editor, you had to boot your system, load the editor assembler, which also took a little time, then load your source code in the editor assembler, then edit, as I was saying, 64 by 16 lines. They did not have, good editors like VI here. I'm able to navigate. You're able to search for,
You had patience.
yeah, as a teenager, I didn't have a lot else to do, especially in the summer. I was, in high school, I didn't go to summer school. Once I started college, that was a whole different story.
Did you ever have a picture survive of you in front of your machine back in the day?
There is one somewhere, but I don't have it handy. I know my mom kept it and it's in a box somewhere, but yeah, I actually have the other thing is the Radio Shack sold like a desk that
Oh yeah,
I think I have a picture.
and
Maybe I have a
the
picture.
monitor set into it. Like
Yeah,
yeah, I had one.
exactly. Yeah, there was a picture of that. Yeah,
They're gray.
yeah, I don't know where that is. I thought I'd preserved it, but I don't have it handy. But yeah, I mean, it's just so much easier to do ZMac and edit and have like a whole screen. And if I need more space, here it is. And honestly, ChatGPT was a little helpful. Oh, one thing I wanted to say about that mem copy part. There was one thing I wanted to mention is that originally I had written that to be, yeah, V4 copy. Originally, I had written that to be, you can see here, I'm kind of loading these registers with values and then comparing. And then if it's not the same, I update here with these two lines. If it is the same, I go to the next. Originally, this was a very tight loop, but because I think the TRS-80 is running at a whopping 1.2 megahertz speed, the game became rather slow. So I did some chat GPT and I had some thoughts myself as well. But what I did is I basically, instead of, decrementing a counter and jumping back each time, which takes time, I basically do 16 of these things just incrementing down. And then that gets looped 64 times. And that sufficiently made the speed sufficiently fast that you see, similar speeds between the original and the new. So it is interesting. I mean, if I was really wild, I could do like a whole line at a time. But I didn't. There's also a few lines that where really I know not much ever gets updated, like the very top and the very bottom. There's only certain bytes, but I decided this was kind of good enough.
Is it possible to have a virtual screen that goes beyond in all directions? You know, um,
On the Radio Shack?
yeah, where you could scroll up or across, in a
Oh,
virtual.
yeah, no, not on the Model 1. I know I was talking to Mark yesterday that the Coco had like addressable memory, and I actually had a Coco at one point, and I wrote a few games there as well. There's actually one other program I was gonna, if we don't have any more questions about stars, there was one other program I was gonna demonstrate that.
Anybody in the audience interested in asking some questions?
Oh yeah, that would be a good time if there's any chat questions. I'm happy to spend time on it.
We got time. We got another 5-10 minutes. So
Sure.
hopefully we haven't been too disruptive to your presentation. So
Oh, you've been fine. It's the other program I have is called Suns, and I mentioned that a couple of reasons. One is it's CLoad published this as well, and if we go to the CLoad part here, that was over here, I believe. Yeah, here we go. He actually calls me out here. I mean, he doesn't say my name, but he basically says, Yahoo Suns, a local programmer, asked me for an idea for a program about a year ago. I had recently began playing this game in the arcade, so I suggested he write a TRS-80 version. I thought that would be the last I heard from him. Then he came to me with the finished version. What a shock. And it's good. Was I pleased? And then he just goes into more detail there. But it's
Neat.
yeah, it was fun. It was I'm going to skip the instructions, but basically we'll just pick like two and speed 0, because basically it's not that complicated, but it basically have these little suns that bounce up and down. And the idea is that you open these paths and then you get a count of a sun, but you have to time it right? Because they're all going at the same time, and you can only hold down one at a time. So you can see if I hold the key down, and I don't know if you can hear the sound or not. It did have sound. And then if you're really, really good, you can actually fire a missile. Like if I go here, I can hit space and it fires a missile
Oh
and
yeah.
destroys that sun. And that all happens in the background. So I don't have to,
Well, you thought out of the box on this one, didn't you?
I what?
You thought out of the box when you made this.
Well, he described this
It's much
program.
different.
Yeah, it's very different than the other one. He described it, and gonna pause it here. And I thought, okay, because I was looking for games. I was actually good at programming, but not very good at having original
Game
ideas
logic.
back then. Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to mention is because I bought a Coco, I actually wrote this for the Coco as well, although I don't
Ooh.
don't have any idea where that code is. And I have yet to find like a really good Coco archive, although Mark pointed out one to me yesterday. So I can go hunt for it. I don't know if it really ever got published. I think it did. By Seaload eventually started selling Coco software, but I think that was much more short-lived than the TRS-80, which had a good run of like 4 or 5 years. I think the earliest cassettes were from like 77 or 78, and then the last one was like 84 of, if you go look at their archive of Seaload magazine things, it's 84. Whoops. Let me just go ahead and reboot that. All right, I'm just going to close that off. The last thing I'm going to say, if there's no questions or anything, is I wrote a text adventure, and this was the one that did the best for me ever. It's called, I'll show you the little box. I have one remaining box that's still sealed here, called The Domes of Kilgari.
Hmm.
And this is a text adventure that I wrote in assembly language. And what happened is me and a friend played this game called Death Dreadnought. It was a text adventure. I'll warn people, if you've not played it, it's rather gruesome. Some of the descriptions of the way you expire are a little out there. I mean, in today's world, it's probably not really.
No, it's teenager stuff. It's
Yeah, it's like
normal.
hardly offend your 5-year-old today.
Yeah.
But back then it was kind of like, oh, it was
Yeah.
R-rated or whatever, or this or that. And we played it, and it was fun. And so I replicated a couple of ideas from it in something called the Domes of Kilgari. And then I got a hold of, and I don't remember his name, but a guy in the Programmers Guild kind of, I reached out to him or he reached out to me, I don't remember what. And he was very interested in publishing a sequel because apparently the game had done really, really well. So I did, and I wrote it in assembly language, and it was a lot of work when you only had like 48K of RAM. You had to have all of your assembly, and you had to have all of your text. You had to have the algorithm program, and then you had to have the text. And then when I was done, guess what? It was bigger than 16K.
No.
And it was like,
Oh.
no. So I came up, nothing rocket science, but I just came up with a way to compress the 8-bit characters to 6-bit. And that, because most of it was text, right? It's an adventure game. Probably 10K of that was text, or 12K. I got it to squeeze down and it fit into the 16K. But because of that, you've got to load it in, then you've got to run your compression, and then you've got to have all the links to all the addresses. They've all changed. This response here pointed here. Now that has to move up over here. Yeah,
Man.
it was a real deal. And
Now, did you have to like write out a map to
yeah,
keep track of everything?
yeah, I had like a scribbly map. I haven't found my original,
No.
but
That was the next question. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I tried playing it, and of course I couldn't remember how to win it. I had to draw a map and whatever and this and that. But
Hey, Alex, I have a question for you from
sure.
the audience.
Oh yeah.
8 bits in the basement. said, "Did you start programming in BASIC and quickly move to assembler, or did you go straight to assembler?"
No, yeah, I started with basic, of course, level one, and then level two. And then I just felt very hampered by the
Mhm.
speeds, particularly for graphics, because I wanted something faster. And we had a little TRS-80 group actually in Santa Barbara back in the day. And I met a guy there, probably 10, 15 years older than me, and he was already into assembly language. And so I would
Enter.
call him, and he basically walked me through how to write a little assembly routine. I don't know, 10 lines or less, that would just blank out the screen or fill the screen with one character. And of course, I'd written something in BASIC, and you can just watch it plop, 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 plop. And then it was just like bang, instantly. And I'm like, okay, I'm sold. I've got to learn this. And he was very, very helpful. And he actually, an odd story, he was actually helped teach me a little bit better manners as a teenager, because I
Mm.
would literally call him up, and then before I said hi, I would just say, hey, can you tell me about blah, 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 blah. And he's like, Alex, I'm happy to answer your question, but, why don't you say hi, who you are? Do you have a minute to talk? And I'm kind of like, okay, message received. I was
That's
just so
funny.
excited into the whole, you know, he was like a source of information. And it was like, okay. So anyway, we got along fine and shared information, and he was helpful. And so this game did pretty well. I got like, I remember two commission checks. One was like 800 and something, and another was $500 and something.
Wow.
Yeah, which for me, that like set me for buying the rest of my computer hardware and this and that. It was just, buy a couple more floppy drives, because I think I was surviving on one floppy drive for a while. And it was,
Did you
that
ever have a stringy thingy?
I never had a stringy thingy, but I did upgrade to the double density, which
Oh.
I thought was fantastic because, same drives, same everything. I just got a lot more space on the floppies.
Hmm.
So I eventually wrote a sequel because I thought, oh, this did well. I'll write another one, something called The Missing People. And here I'm on this ad that I published in C-Load magazine. I remember I paid like, I don't know, $50 or $100 for the ad space. Unfortunately, it didn't do anything. I think I sold one copy.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was a little painful and a little disappointed. And I tried to advertise my version, the people one here, for $15. I thought maybe that's cheaper, but it didn't really sell well, and the Programmers Guild just kind of didn't go anywhere with that, or at least I never got a commission check. So I don't know if they just sold a handful of copies or whatever. But I ended up publishing it again, and I think in one of my videos, on YouTube, I talk about how I recovered it, how I builded it, and one of the guys, I know we're kind of out of time here. One of the guys who I met at the Vintage Computer Festival, really nice guy. He wanted to play it, so I made it a download for him, and he actually went and played the game. And I was really surprised because I thought there's nobody interested in these old text adventures anymore. But he really, he's such a nice guy. He like gave me an extra floppy drive because mine were on their last legs. Mine was squeaking terribly, and I've only found two of the three that I have, and one of them just gave up. And I'm like, okay. So what I did is I basically archived everything off. I have a GoTech emulator. That's
Hmm.
also a great device if you have a computer and you want to get your stuff off. I read every floppy I could, and I have them all now stored on my system, so I can, go back and look at some of the stuff I wrote. Mostly for me. I mean, I'm happy to share this. I have the new version of Stars. I was going to create a um, uh, place where people can get it, or a whole video on how I made that, but I never got
Yes.
around to that. I started working again. I was sort of unemployed for a while. So I started working again, and I didn't have a lot of time. But if anybody is interested in it, the demo version, the one that will run by itself, reach out, go to my YouTube channel, reach out to the Coco Nation or whatever.
Yeah, okay.
Happy to share it. It's been fun creating that and getting back into the whole assembly language. It's fun.
I do have a Model 1 16K cassette, and
Yeah.
it's in good shape and it works. And I hate to bring it out and turn it on and play with it, thinking that if I break it, this is it.
It's the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had some hardware problems actually during the Vintage Computer Festival. And again, thank goodness Marcel was there. He, because he made hardware, we literally put one together in my case that I
Oh,
used to
cool.
demo during the show. I since fixed mine. There, a transistor went out and some other stuff. Of course, it totally worked fine the day before the show. I brought it in
Naturally.
the Thursday. It was running fine. Friday,
There's
I
some
come in
demos.
and it's totally toast. Like the moment the show opens, and I'm like,
Curse of
okay,
demos.
yeah. So I'm in the process of trying to get a backup unit now. There was a guy on the Trash Talk who had some spares, and I'm like, yeah, I'd be interested in one because I don't want to be in that predicament again.
Well, how do you feel about the word trash in relation to our machines?
Hey, Ron,
Uh,
we're running out of time.
Yeah, me and my friend from high school, we used to call it the Trash 80 all the time.
Yeah, we
Um,
never did.
no, yeah,
No, because
because why?
well, there was people with other machines, you know,
Mhm.
and they're putting ours down, so it didn't just seem like the
Yeah,
right thing to do. Yeah,
yeah. We never did it to anybody else. We would just talk among
yeah.
ourselves, especially when the thing you can't get your audio cassette to load, after you saved it and you have to like recover your source code. It was a bit of a thing, but I mean, I like them. I think it's just amazing that Radio Shack came out with these and they made them very affordable. I couldn't afford like an Apple or whatever else there was out there at the time. This was a really decent, very good
Portable.
computer at the time. I mean, it just really got it into the household thing. And so many people I've connected with have all said the same thing. They started their career on the Radio Shack computer. So,
Okay, well, we're running out of time. We have another presentation coming up. So thank you for
alrighty.
thank you for coming on, Alex, and
Yeah,
glad to know more about the Model One.
It was
And
great.
and we will keep in touch with you.
sounds great. Yeah, thank you for having me. And I hope people got something out of this.
I think they will. There's actually a bunch of people who have commented that they have Model Ones.
Cool. Yeah,
There's
there.
2 or 3 people that have them, and then I'm sure there's more than that. But anyway, next up we have Joel Evie, who's going to be talking about graphics on the Coco 3. Anyway, we're going to kill this stream. We'll start a new one, and we'll see you all in just a few minutes. And thank you again very much, Alex.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you all too.